gives us more of the guys that we want to play with and we think give us the best chance. So we're going to get some really good work in this week. We need to. There's a lot of things that we need to improve based on our scrimmage from Saturday and just what we've seen over the 3.5 weeks of camp that we've had so far. Just particularly on offense, just that there's growing pains with that, and obviously it's a new system. So everybody's kind of doing this for the first time, but it's fun to watch. It's been exciting for our players, exciting for us, and I'm looking forward to on Saturday night to see how it all comes together. We got a lot of guys that have played, and that's positive. A lot of experience. Not all the guys with experience that'll be starting on Saturday night have been starters in the past, but it's nice to have a good number of guys that are going to try out there for the first snap that have some experience playing with us. So we're playing an outstanding team, talented team, very well coached. I've got so much respect for Coach Bowden and the career he's had and the job he's done there. And we played them a year ago, and we played them a couple years prior, and just impressed always with how athletic they are and how well those guys execute. They've got playmakers on offense and really fast, agile guys on defense that get to the ball. Victory in the second half and made some plays in the second half, but fully expect this to be a real fight to the finish. We're playing down there for the first time. We've never traveled down there before, and plenty of people have told us just what a challenge it is to go down there and play in their stadium. We're watching them a year ago against Louisiana-Lafayette, who has been one of the best teams in that league, and they beat them down there in Monroe, and it's certainly a rivalry game and a big game for them. But that's a team that I think everybody around college football is going to respect because of the success that they've had, certainly under Coach Napier and now with the new staff. But it's going to be a difficult place to play. We know it's going to be very warm. There's not any way to prepare for that unless we could somehow turn the heat up out there on the practice fields, which is impossible. So we're going to take our travel squad and expect to play pretty much everybody that goes on the trip in order to be able to keep up with them having a chance and an opportunity to practice them every day, acclimatizes them to that. And I'm certainly accustomed to that. And as Coach Georgia Southern, it would be really warm there in the summer, and the early games were hot and humid, and felt like it was an advantage for our team at Georgia Southern. So I'm certain that they look at that as well. So we're going to have to combat that. And it's a lot of challenges to being on the road in the opening game and with a new offensive system and a really good, talented team.
For the first time,
I'm excited to see our guys execute the offense and just see how it all comes together. When I interviewed Coach Thatcher and I interviewed other coaches, I just really, pardon me for that, I really felt like his system fit us the best. It is a run-based offense, and we still believe that we've got to run the ball and stop the run if we're going to have a chance to succeed here. And I believe that's true for anybody in college football. There's certainly a lot of statistics that support that. So we want to run the football effectively, and it'll look a little different. And excuse me, it'll be a different structure and a different presentation, but still the same philosophy. And so I'm excited about just seeing our guys and executing after watching them practice here all spring and all preseason camp.
Preseason for this team, what would it be?
I don't know if there's I don't know if I could put a theme on it. Our guys are really, I think, very focused on the job at hand. They know what a challenging schedule we have. I like our leadership, the leadership from within, the captains, the seniors, the guys are stepping up and just holding others accountable as they are accountable to each other. And I think there's a lot of positive energy and spirit around our team. So they'll be excited to play Saturday. I think they'll play really hard. I hope we play well enough to win. I don't know if there's a threat of the pass or not. We haven't played a game yet and had a chance to throw any passes, so we'll find out if we can protect and if we can get open and deliver the ball to the right receivers. And I think even in the previous system, there are opportunities to throw the ball and play action, particularly because of the option offense. And there will be in this system as well, but it's not it's a system where we could throw the ball a lot, but I don't know that our philosophy really is in line with a team that throws the ball all the time. But we know that we'll throw it more. I think it just is kind of built into the system, but we still want to be a very effective run team.
I guess my question should have been more the threat of the pass. Does it help the rushing game as far as just loosening things up, maybe presenting some more opportunities for the backs?
I think teams that throw the ball, and that's kind of their deal, and perhaps that opens up the opportunities to run at times. But I think everybody's got their philosophy. I think what this system does is allows us to be able to spread the field a little bit more. And whereas with the last system, particularly this past season, the new blocking rules almost forced us into formations where everybody was capable of blocking people in the box, and that made it very difficult, very challenging to use receivers to block linebackers and linemen to block defensive backs, and that doesn't mean it can't be done, but I just felt like being able to spread people out as you know, I grew up under Paul Johnson and how he manipulated the defense by using different formations, and many of those were spread out where he had receivers from numbers to numbers, and so I think the new blocking rules really forced us into formations where we couldn't quite spread people out as much, and I hope that this system will.
Brady Small is on the first team, first unit this year. What excites you about them personnel-wise?
There are a lot of guys on our team that have played a lot of football for us. When you start up front, there's guys like Jackson Flipwitz, Ruby Law, Connor Finucane. All of those guys have a number of starts as Army football players. Jacoby Buchanan, Tyson Riley, Isaiah Alston, Ajan Marshall, Josh Lingenfelter, all guys with starts under their belt. Defensively, our entire secondary, all four of those guys, and if you want to include Jimmy Charlo at the nickel, all those guys have a lot of experience starting games. Max DiDomenico is probably the least experienced in terms of starts, but I think he's a really good football player. And then up front we got Frey and Nate Smith, Darius Richardson, Austin Hill, linebackers, Leo Lowen, Spencer Jones, Cam O'Gara. I mean, all those guys have some experience playing, and so I'm excited that we got those veteran players coming back, and this is not their first game. And though for those offensive guys, it's their first game in a new system, it's not the first time they played.
Does that ease your concerns?
Yeah, I think anytime I've been a part of a team where there's been more experienced players, it does give you some peace of mind that you don't have a bunch of rookies or guys that are going to experience game day or starting in a college football game for the very first time, because there's going to, for all of them, the first game of the year, there's going to be those butterflies and those it's positive. It's those positive nerves. It's the energy that comes from playing that game, and they'll all be excited and anxious, but a veteran just has a sense of how to deal with that anxiety, which I think is good. It gets them to play really hard and play fast and play their best, and they can help maybe calm the nerves of a guy like Brady Small, who's starting his first college football game as a freshman, and it'll give him some peace of mind and some confidence having guys starting right next to him that have played a lot of college football and started in college football games.
Seth Mendelson, Black Adaptation. Okay.
Much better looking than Sal. Sal's not here, so I can say that.
He's on too, though.
Gotcha, Sal.
The offensive line seems a bunch of big guys there, and I think that's crucial in any running game, obviously passing game. Talk about that a little bit. How crucial do you think it is?
Just the shift in the system, the schemes that we'll use to run the football in this system, I think it encourages having linemen that are bigger. And we've got, fortunately, guys in our program that are long and have a frame that can carry that weight. And we've got a lot of guys up front that have gained some weight over the offseason just to help them with the schemes that we're running now. Really, the offense, in previous years, we weren't trying to eliminate big guys. We wanted big people, long people that were athletic. But really, the emphasis on athleticism and being able to play really, really low, a lot of double team blocks, a lot of blocks where you got onto second level defenders quickly and in space. You needed maybe a different kind of guy, and you could survive. We could survive as an offense with maybe a guy that wasn't quite as big. And with this system, you can see, and you've had a chance to watch us practice and scrimmage, just the younger guys in our program, the freshmen, how much longer and bigger we're trying to recruit guys into this system. So it still is a matter of being able to execute, to have the feet and athleticism, to block people, to stay engaged on a block. As an offensive lineman, when there's a defensive end or there's a really talented pass rusher coming off the edge and you've got a pass set and protect, size only takes you so far. You got to be able to get in his way and have the feet to get there and the hands and the athleticism to stay engaged on the block. So that remains a constant. It remains a priority for us.
Are you confident with these guys?
I am really, because all these guys we're playing with the exception of Brady Small, who's starting as a freshman, but played in our prep school program in the old system, were all recruited because we felt like they had the athleticism to be able to play in that system. And just look at Shane Buckingham. He's a high school quarterback. We recruited him thinking he was going to be a tight end. Now he's starting at right tackle. He weighs over 300 pounds. Simon Dellinger, he's not in the starting lineup right now, but he's a high school tight end. And some of those guys were playing positions in high school where they weren't 300-pound offensive linemen. They were more skill players, more so than the typical offensive linemen. So they were recruited because they were quick and fast. Jackson Flipwoods was a state champion wrestler, so really good on his feet, really good at staying engaged on blockers, and that gave him a skill set for our previous system, that we thought was good, and I think it still holds true. He's gained a lot of weight, and maybe there's some adjustments in growing into the body, but I think the guys can handle it well.
One more question. First game, that you mentioned jitters, going down there, it's going to be hot out. It's at 98 degrees at game time.
That'll be cool.
What are you and your coaches telling the team? First game is crucial. You start the season. It's the beginning of a whole new thing. What are you telling these guys to get them, more? I'm sure they're motivated, but more motivated.
I don't know that I've ever been a part of a team that needed motivation for the first game that was manufactured. That guys are excited to play. Their team's going to be really excited to play. Our team's going to be really excited to play. It's one of the great things about kicking off the season. And so our guys won't need any extra motivation, or there's nothing I'm going to say to them that's going to get them more prepared or more excited to play than they already are. What I want them to do is execute well. That's where the game is won, is execution. And if we can do that, get them to execute well, then we'll give ourselves a chance to win. And if we don't execute well, we're not going to have any chance to win. The heat and the elements, we have no control over that. We can't control the temperature or the precipitation or the crowd or the officials or the other team. There's a whole lot of things we can't control. What we can control is our attitude and our effort, and how hard we play, our preparation, and then the things within the game, executing our assignments, playing with good fundamentals. We control those things, and so that's what we've got to concern ourselves with, is doing those things really well. And as for the temperature, I know it's going to be warm. There's nothing that we can do here to simulate that, which is why we take more than 22 guys on the airplane with us. We're going to have enough guys there that hopefully we can keep our guys fresh and hydrated and be able to play all 4 quarters.
We'll kick it over to Zoom. Ken, you want to start on Zoom?
Sure. Hey, Coach. Exciting the season's going to start. Preview I read of Louisiana-Monroe is that they were affected by the transfer portal. They lost 7 players that they pointed out, brought in some players also. Does that make it tough to scout the team when you haven't seen those players, the configuration that they're gonna bring to the starting lineup?
I don't know about the difficulties of different players. What is most difficult often is different coordinators, different coaches, and it's trying to backtrack through and watch those coaches at other schools and how they either defended an offense or attacked a defense. Those are challenging, and I think that what those coaches do is they find players that they think are going to be a fit for their system, and then plug those guys in to play. What I do know is that they did lose some good players, but they also were replaced by some very talented players. And we, like every staff does, did our due diligence and were able to watch those guys and scout them at their previous schools. And it, again, it's not entirely knowing what they're going to do defensively or offensively, but trying to get a handle on that's most important, and then deal with the personnel and try to match our guys with theirs as best we can.
They mentioned a junior college quarterback joining them, Elijah Wright. Is that who you expect the players, or are there other alternatives?
I think so, and again, we're not sure until the first snap, and that's the great thing about this game. There's no rules that you gotta tell people who your starting quarterback's going to be, or your starting kicker's going to be, or anybody else for that matter. It's preparing for a system. It's preparing for a team, and often you're not able to prepare for a certain player. But they've got a host of quarterbacks. They get, I think, 4 listed on their depth chart that they put out, and I presume that every one of those guys will do a good job if they go into the game and be able to operate their offense and run their system. And as I said, they're an incredibly talented, athletic football team, and I know they're well coached. Coach Bob is outstanding. He's got a great staff, and it'll be a challenge for us right from the get-go. And I don't care who the quarterback is. It's going to trot out there for them. It's going to be the best one that they can put out there, and we're going to have to do our very best to defend it.
Final question on defense. You list as your starting nose tackle Kyle Lewis, who saw out on the scrimmage on Saturday. Ahead of Darius Richardson. What makes Kyle Lewis stand out for you?
His quickness and his strength. His ability to move laterally and in our defense, in our scheme, those are traits that are pretty desirable. So he's just worked incredibly hard. I can't believe the difference physically. You can see pictures of him as a freshman here, and even in our prep school, which he went through the prep school, and to see him now, what he's grown into. Just really proud of him, and the fact that he's positioned himself to be a starter. But it's nice, as you mentioned, Darius, to have a guy with his kind of experience and his ability to be there along with him. And so what you're going to see is a lot of guys playing, Ken. It won't be just one guy playing nose guard and the 2 guys that are playing defensive end the whole game. There's going to be a lot of guys up front on both sides playing football, and I think that's just in preparation and knowing what the conditions are going to be in terms of the heat. We're going to have to play a lot of guys.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Ken.
Charles, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Coach. Charles Reeves with GoBlackKnights.com. Coach, it's often said that the game is won in the trenches or even lost in the trenches, although today's game is more RPO generated. I would like to think it still happens in the trenches. If that's the case, can you talk about the guys up front in the offensive line? You guys have collectively, across the board, probably one of the biggest and most experienced and talented groups assembled since I've seen you been there. Can you talk about that group?
I do believe that games are won in the trenches, and really that comes down to being able to run the ball and stop the run. Certainly, there's a need to pass protect and to pass rush, and both of those things matter as well up front, and it starts there. And if we're not effective on the offensive line, we'll have a tough time being a good offense. And if we're not effective as a defensive line, then we're going to have a tough time being a good defense. We do have a good group of guys, and as I mentioned, several of those guys by name, they've got some experience. They've worked really hard. They're a very cohesive, close unit, and they work well together. Coach Beatty and Coach Drenkel are doing a really good job with the guys up front on offense, and then certainly on defense. Again, some experienced guys with Frey and Smith, Hill, Richardson, Felici, and go down the list. There's a lot of guys that have a lot of experience there. And Coach Cronin, he's going on his 2nd year with us, but he's always rotated guys and used a lot of players. And I think Coach Woody likes to do that. He likes to keep those guys fresh, and I think that's one of the strengths of that group. So if we play good up front on both sides of the ball, I think we give ourselves a much better chance to play. And there are a lot of teams that may try to eliminate their offensive line by snapping and throwing very quickly or making the game a perimeter game. But bottom line is you got to have guys up front if you're going to be a consistent winner, in my opinion.
Great. And moving to the defense side of the ball, one guy who came into the program with tons of upside is inside linebacker Spencer Jones. However, his career has been hit with injuries throughout, but he's back at number 1 on the depth chart. Assuming he stays healthy, what should we expect of him going forward?
Well, I'm really excited for him. I'm proud of him. It's not easy to go through a career that's just been laden with injuries, as his has. But he's a really smart player, an athletic player, and I think he and Leo are different, but they're positioned accordingly in our defense. And so this is the first time he's really it's kind of gonna be his game, his start, and I'm confident he'll do a good job. But as I said, we've got some other experienced guys there, and that's positive to have a guy like Cam O'Gara who's in the mix there. We've got some really good young players that are sophomores, and even a freshman, Tonoli Tuli, who I think is going to be a really good football player for us. We've got a couple of young guys that are on the scout team right now, but man, they're really impressive. Baylor Newsome and Noah Nixon, both guys that I think that linebacker room's a strong group of guys, and hopefully Calvin Crummy will be showing up on the lineup here pretty soon too, as he comes off of his injury.
Go ahead, Charles.
And my follow-up and final question, I believe there's only one freshman that made the traveling team for this upcoming game. I believe this quarterback, Larry Robinson. If that is a fact, you're traveling only one plea. Is that a reflection of the maturation and the growth of the program?
We'll have Larry Robinson, we'll have Brady Small, and we'll have Tonoli Tuli. Those 3 guys right now will make the trip. And I think those are the only freshmen. But I do feel like we've got a team that's just been developed and grown through the program, and I think that's a positive. You and I have been around here for the last 10 years together, and there's been a lot of seasons where even in the opening game, there's a lot more freshmen making the trip. And when we eat our meals for our road trips, we go to the hotel, the Friday night meal, we always let the freshmen eat first. And there's been times where I looked up and there's long lines at the buffet line with freshmen. I think, man, we've got way too many freshmen on this trip. So it'd be nice to be able to call the freshmen up, and there's only 3 of them, and see the sophomores coming right behind them. So hopefully we can stay healthy, and that's no knock on our freshmen. I think we got some very talented guys, and throughout the year, I anticipate that some of these freshmen are going to start to show up and perhaps make the travel squad and make contributions, which is great. I think that's a positive. But right now we've got a more veteran team, and hopefully that's going to mean opportunities for us to win more games.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
And to close this out, Sal, do you have anything? Go ahead.
Coach, you mentioned Tano in the past. Do you see him as a special teams player on Saturday, or get involved in special teams?
Right now, I think that's where his greatest contribution is going to be, is on special teams. But I anticipate, just based on what he's done, I'm so impressed with him. He played in our prep school last year, and he is powerful and sees things really quickly, reacts really, really well to action in front of him and his keys. And I think before the season's over, he may be a guy that's able to climb up high enough on the depth chart that he may even be, he might give some competition to the guys at the very top of the depth chart. But right now, he's a special teams guy, and it's hard to ask him to come in to preseason camp as a freshman and in 3.5 weeks have himself as a starter. So, but every day he gets better, and I'm excited about him. There's one other guy, Charles, I mentioned the plebes that are traveling. El Omadozi plays outside linebacker, so he is a backup behind Jimmy Charlo and Chance Keith and that group of guys, but another really talented guy, and we're excited about him. So he'll play some special teams as well, and then he'll likely play some defensive snaps.
Coach, one more. Does a punter come down to this week in practice, or are you gonna wait with Cooper or Billy?
We're gonna take Cooper and Billy. Right now, Cooper's at the top, but they're still battling out. If we had to play today, Cooper would be the punter, but that doesn't mean it may change by the end of the week.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sal. We're all set, everyone.
All right. Thanks, everybody.